and I'm going to hand it over to our TSR manager and our schools manager at USTA Middle States, Renee Lentz, to kick it off. Go ahead, Renee.
Thank you, Evan, and good afternoon. I'm happy you've joined us today to discuss tennis in our schools. I have with me today 2 teachers and 2 out-of-school providers. Chris Williams is a physical education teacher at 13th and Green Elementary in the Reading School District, and he also coaches the 13th and Green Elementary Tennis Club. Franny Slabonik is a 2020 retired elementary school physical education teacher. And Franny, how happy are you to be retired this fall?
I had foresight.
And she is also a field hockey coach for the Eastern Lebanon County School District in Myerstown, PA. Derek Phillips has been with Legacy Youth Tennis and Education for over 10 years. He is currently the Senior Director of Community Programs, where he oversees all aspects of the community program, including after-school, subcontracts, Rising Stars, education, and the summer camps. And Jim McPartland is the president of the Neshaminy Kids Club in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. The Neshaminy School District is located in Lower Bucks County and serves over 9,000 students with 3,800 in the elementary school level. The Kids Club itself serves over 600 children in their programs, and they have been providing before, after school programs and summer camps for over 35 years. So thank you all for joining us today, and I really appreciate your time. So I want to give this session, I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions of PE teachers and out-of-school providers. So if you could enter any questions you have in the Q&A, along the way we will answer them. Q&A, for those of you who don't know, is located at the bottom of your screen. Plus, this is a schools panel, and I am a teacher, so I will be asking you questions too. So audience, pay attention, because we will be having questions for you. So let's get started. And I don't want to spend the entire hour talking about our current life, but in the spring, schools were impacted quickly. So after the initial shock, Franny, what was PE like for you in the spring?
Well, after the initial shock, hoping that we would be back in 2 weeks and realizing that the exit wouldn't happen, we didn't do a lot of live with our kids as a physical education teacher, but we had a choice board, and I actually used tennis skills that we had already worked on. Fortunately for us, we do our tennis clinic in January, and then it feeds into the after school program, which is off season for the tennis program. But the kids could meet with me once a week if they chose, but I would have videos either of myself or skills and use those as an option that the kids could work on if they so chose to.
Okay, great. And Chris, Reading School District, are you virtual right now in the fall, or?
Yeah, we're virtual. We're virtual until November, which is right around when usually we would get our tennis club going. So I don't know how that's really going to look this year. I'm hoping that we can, if we have to push it to January, maybe condense the season. One of the things that is going to be a challenge is, with us maintaining all the guidelines, usually tennis is an outdoor sport, but we usually conduct ours in the winter in our gym. So, being inside and then having, X amount of kids and X amount of fans, all that stuff we have to kind of work that out before we are able to get into it. But yeah, hopefully we can, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. And Derek, after school programming for you in the spring, From what I hear, you guys were very active. Can you explain what you did this past spring after school?
Well, obviously, like everyone else, however, we were able to, because we also have an after-school program, which is called OST, out of school time, along with our subcontracts in the after-school program itself. So we were able to obviously get involved with the virtual programming through Class Dojo and some of the other programs that allows us to stay in contact with our kids. So we worked in conjunction with the school district itself, as well as some of the individual schools that we had after school programming with. And so what we did was we had various videos, some live feeds and things of that nature in order to continue to work with our kids, not only in Philadelphia, but in Chester and in Camden, New Jersey. So we just continued all the way through April, all the way through to June until we got to the summer program.
Awesome. And Jim, summer camps in Neshaminy, what did that look like?
Well, do you want me to say anything about springtime? Because, well, there's not much to say. I'll now lead into summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
As of the third school programs and the holiday, we also offered the Neshaminy School District closed down like many others. We were one of a couple of school districts in the state of Pennsylvania that was permitted to have, the district permitted us to have a skate down summer camp. Normal, we'd have 350 for age appropriate camp programs. This summer, that number was 105 because we had to comply not only with district standards, but also CDC and DHS standards. So we're really answering to a number of different agencies. Physical activities were extremely limited. There was no tennis this summer. In a normal summer, there would be a weekly or bi-weekly tennis instruction. That was suspended, this activity, and then we'll lead into the fall in a few minutes. But in answer to your question, with only 105 children separated into age groups, there was an extreme limitation as to physical activities.
Right. Well, thank you. So under normal circumstances, Evan, can you show my slide, please? I'm gonna start off. Come on, Evan. The first one. The first. Want me to do it? Hang on. The Chris Williams.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Hang on.
I see. Okay.
All right, right here, folks.
There we go. Sorry. I thought
Chris.
I was sharing. I wasn't.
I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to see that big trophy. So explain exactly under normal circumstances. So Chris in the Reading School District was extremely lucky because in early 2020, they were able to complete their tennis program. So Chris, explain what is entailed in winning that beautiful trophy.
A lot of dedication from our students, a lot of dedication from our core tennis program, from the Reading Rec, from Monmouth, from USTA, NetGen. You know, I started our tennis program my second year in Reading, and the whole idea behind it was just to be able to give my students an opportunity to have school pride. That's all it was. And it just kind of manifested into, we got some talented kids, and in this picture, last year we were able to win the championship. So it was a lot of hard work from them, and, you know, a lot of dedication from them. And then, like I said, you know, we would, as a core tennis league, as, you know, the elementary core league, we would be nowhere without the USTA and CORE and the Reading Rec, because, you know, the resources that they provide, the support that they provide is endless and, you know, unwavering. And, you know, we're just so appreciative of that. And that was evidence of it. So that picture in there was the championship match. Miss Angela Jones is in the picture as well as Josh Ford. He coaches another one of our elementary schools at Northwest Elementary. And if anybody was there that day, they'll tell you it was hot in the gym. Sometimes our heat in our gym doesn't really cooperate, so it was a warm one in there. But you know, it was a great atmosphere. We had, and I know he's on the chat right now, Mr. Larry Zerby and Brian Warhammer. They did a great job of coordinating the event. So we had the Reading High School cheerleaders come out, and, you know, we had our kids have entrance. You know, they had like their player introductions, and they got to run through the cheerleaders, like running through the tunnel. You know, the USTA came out and took pictures. So, you know, it was just a great event for our kids and something that I hope they remember for, you know, the rest of their life.
What leads up to that? Like, how many lessons of PE? Is there an after-school program connected to it? How many matches? What's it all entail?
So we usually would start in November under normal circumstances, beginning of November. And it is really up to the coach of the school. The first few years I did a before school program. Once my second child came along, I didn't really want to leave my wife hanging with 2 kids to get ready. So we moved to an after school program. So it really is predetermined, or, you know, decided by the coach of the team. Some do before school. So that's, you're talking like 7 to about 7:45. Some do after school, like myself. We do 3 to 3:45. And it's, you know, it can be as many days of the week. Usually we try to do about 3 or 4 days. So we did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we would have matches just like a normal, you know, high school tennis schedule at the elementary level. So we had 2 divisions, a red division and a black division, and then you would play everyone twice in your division, and then would play one out of the division, and then everyone would make playoffs. And then the playoffs was seeded, you know, 1 through 3 for each division. We had 5 total teams last year. Usually we had 6 teams in our league. And then there's a playoff that starts end of like mid to end February. And then the championship match is usually the beginning of March, that first week of March. So we kind of lucked out. We got it in right before the shutdown happened.
Awesome. Okay, Franny, and well, before I go on, Chris, you keep mentioning CORE. The relationship of CORE to the school, they are your what? So
CORE is the City of Reading Tennis. They really are, you know, that's the league, is the City of Reading Tennis. They run, you know, they work in conjunction with the Reading Rec Commission. So you see on my t-shirt, it says Reading Rec Commission, then underneath it says CORE. They work hand in hand for tennis. Reading Rec Commission does, you know, a bunch of different after school programs for the kids in our community. And then CORE Tennis is focused on tennis. So they work hand in hand in the tennis aspect.
Thank you. Franny, I know you have a terrific relationship with your tennis service representative, Kathy Schock. So tell us about that partnership, and then how your PE class connects with the high school team. You're muted, Franny. Sorry.
Too many steps in the process. Thank you.
Yeah.
Predominantly in my 35 years, most of it has been elementary, and I can go back 30 years ago to the Wilson USTA tennis rackets, which I still have and use when necessary, to recently updating our curriculum to, you know, with net generation, both equipment and curriculum. And obviously having Kathy not only be the regional coordinator, but living in our district, and also helping out with obviously the tennis program and the youth divisions in our district. That gives me a little tie-in, but we are able to tap into both the coaches when they're available and our students. And being in the district for the 30 years, all those students I've had, especially over the last 10 years, I've taught every 3rd through 5th grade, so 600 students every 4 days. So they got introduced to tennis, a lot of them during the elementary program, and they jump at the chance to come back and work the program, you know, whether that be in January, which all my colleagues are always jealous that I have Kathy in with me to kick off that, you know, coming off the break and kick off that. And, you know, it's getting harder. And I know a lot of you would know that, those that are teachers, is to get release time for kids to come back during the school day. But we still do get a few helpers that are able to break away from their secondary responsibilities to help in the classroom. And because of when we do it, we have a lot of graduates that are home on break, and we get them back to help. So we all know that having that smaller ratio, coach to students, is huge. And the other thing is that promotes what the boosters sponsor, and the high school sponsors is an after school program that, you know, the kids roll right into from school, and I'm able to help, you know, promote that and get numbers for that, as well as the camp in June. So unfortunately, like Chris had mentioned, we were able to get our program in before that March 13th deadline.
That's good. All right, so while we're on the subject of out-of-school programs, Derek, how do after-school programs work?
Well, that's a broad question. They work after school. No, I'm just kidding. They work after school. I'm kidding. Well, with Legacy, we have a number of programs. We have the programs that are funded through our EITC corporate partnerships that we run at five to six schools. And then we have what we call our subcontracts. These are contracts that after school programs that are funded through the school itself, or through the PT, between the parent teacher organizations or something of that nature. And so we run it anywhere from 3 to 4 days a week for 90 minutes. And well, we actually do it for 2 hours, 3 hours. But what we do is we break it down into age groups. So if we're at elementary school, maybe we'll have 90 minutes. We'll have the second, third, or fourth grade, and then we'll have the fifth and sixth grade. So we'll break it down to make it age appropriate, and we'll do it for 90 minutes, and we'll do it for those 2 or 3 days a week, depending on the contract or depending on the school availability. Maybe if it's the gym, some have tennis courts really near them, so we go to the courts. If not, then we're using the gym, hallways, everything like all of you do and have done in the past. So we do that during the course of the all year round. So it's a year-round program. Some programs are totally year-round. Some are the ones that are paying for fee. Then sometimes we have a 10-week and we have a 12-week program. And so some just do the 10 weeks, some do it 12 weeks, and then we start all over, or we just move on to other schools. And we have about 15 to 20 subcontracts during the course of the year, and another 5 to 6 after-school programs. And so that's the after-school program, how we run it, and everything, I'm sure, similar to everyone else here.
Thank you, Derek. And Jim, your after-school program is a little different because it's not just tennis. So tell us a little bit about yours.
Our program is very different. We provide, I think you did in your introductory remarks, care for a total enrollment of over 600 families. That means that we have approximately 60 children coming every afternoon. We do before and after school. Before program is from 7 until 9 o'clock, the commencement of school. The afternoon program runs from 3:35 until 6 p.m. Ours is a suburban program that is funded primarily through parental tuition fees. We have about 5% of our population that is subsidized. And the program runs for the 36-week school term and most of our kids roll right over into summer camp programs. But let me tell you where tennis fits in. Let me describe a typical day, first of all. The morning is a rather relaxed period. Children can come and do homework. They can have breakfast. Breakfast is offered in many of our schools, and our children are able to access that, although most of them don't really need a breakfast. They've already had one before they get to school. And so it's a relaxed program with not much structure because it's staggered enrollment in the morning depending on parental work schedules. About 70% of the lower Bucks municipalities, they're dual income families. Then in the afternoon, there's much more structure. Dismissal until about 4 o'clock. That half-hour period is snack, and none of this is mandatory. A snack, they can do homework, and then there are numerous activity centers. We're usually located in a gym or a cafeteria, in a few cases, designated classrooms, but most of our schools are filled to the brim, so there's not a lot of extra classroom space. And it's really, classroom space is really very well suited for the large numbers. One of our programs has over 100 kids a day, but most of them are around 60. Then at 4 to 4:15, then the organized activities start based upon choice that's provided by the person who specializes in games and sports. When they're not getting tennis instruction, they're playing usually planned activities for 2/3 of that hour. And one of those 20-minute periods is kids' choice. And we find that, let me turn that phone off. Sorry to bother you.
That's okay. Mine ring too.
Got to mute it. And tennis, by the way, it happens to be extremely popular. And over the years, Jim has been the tennis instructor. We're very thankful to an early grant that we got through Kitty, and that was USTA sponsored us with mini nets and with balls and with rackets. And so I've been the primary instructor, and I'll just alternate with groups of children, and the groups are typically 12. We use a lot of YouTube videos, and one series in particular is the Kids Tennis Clubs. If anybody has gone to YouTube, that's a USTA sanctioned website, I believe, and it's introductory. And this year we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from USTA. And what's going to happen this year, because I'm looking at retirement within the next year, depending on how this COVID thing plays out, our sports and games people will be doing the tennis instruction. And as long as the weather's nice, in the fall, it usually can go all the way up to November. In the springtime, it's usually starts around April through the mid-June. In the wintertime, we use mini nets in gym. We're very, very fortunate to have large, well-organized gym space. So tennis is an activity that extends throughout the entire 36-week school year. So in summary, that's what goes on in the after-school program. We're limited to one school district. We only have about 13% of the total kids enrolled. Those children go to other activities in the afternoon, depending on the season, organized sports, other after-school programs, or to the lonely neighbor who is left in the neighborhood that looks after kids or older siblings. So I would say I'm a member of a lot of statewide organizations dedicated to before and after school issues, and many, many, many programs in suburbs run very much like mine. The inner city programs are a totally different ballgame. And I think Derek brought that to our attention.
Right. Thank you. All right, so question for the audience. And you can just type your answers in the chat. So does the out of school time program have to take place at the school? So, oh, good one. Got an answer really quick. Somebody's paying attention. Anybody else? We got one. The answer is no. That is the correct answer. No. That's awesome. I'm so happy because a lot of people think the program does have to take place at the school. So Derek, do you run any school programs at Legacy itself?
Yes, we do. But I think I'm answering this question and I may be confused. So if I'm confused, everyone, forgive me. So when we say out of school time, that's a program from Philly. I don't know, I'm sure you have it too. So that's a totally separate program from our actual after school programming. So when you say out of school time, you're talking about two different things, right? After school programming and then the out of school time program.
Out of school time programs, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, we do have a out of school time program at Legacy. So we have one at McCloy Elementary School, and then one we utilize at Legacy, but we only have it for a small amount of kids at Legacy. So yes, so I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question for the right program.
You are.
So
you are.
That's all I wanted to do. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So PE. Here's another question for the audience. To receive the Net Generation equipment package, you have to have a school partner. So audience, who can be a school partner? Answer in the chat. That's a tough question. Ooh, I stumped them. I stumped the audience. Any certified teaching pro, local rec department, tennis pro, CTA, Like It, Joe, Safe Play approved provider. That's the correct answer. Anyone approved on Net Generation. NJTL, awesome, I love it. That is the correct answer. Any Safe Play approved provider, a mom or a dad could run an after school program as long as they were Safe Play approved and had the proper background checks. Then the PE teacher receives what, folks? What do you get? Come on, nice and loud.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
Good free stuff.
Absolutely.
Good free stuff. So we all know that having a community partner is important to the schools. After school programs provide great opportunities for kids to learn about their neighborhood. The statistics all say they stay in school, they have better grades, they stronger academic results, they learn about the sense of community. So let's talk about how that community is developed. So anybody who has a great community partner and how their community comes around tennis in their schools. It's open to y'all.
Well, I mean, I'll just talk real quick and then I'll get off. I mean, we're all going to talk, I'm sure. So with us, with Legacy, the years we've been doing this, and I've been with Legacy for 10 years, but I've also started in this program, particularly in JTL 50 years ago in the first year that it started. And so what I've learned in my position is that the partnerships are vital to the success of the program. And with the school district, we've made the school district as one of our partners. Now there are a lot of subcontractors that provide after school and before school programming to the school. So we've also partnered with them. So part of what we do is we not only partner with the school district, but we partner with those other organizations that have a relationship with the school and provide after school programming and before school programming. So what we found, not only do we establish things ourselves, but we then team up with, or again, using the word again, partner with those organizations that themselves have a relationship with the schools. Because obviously we can't get into every school, regardless of how much we want to do that. So by getting into those schools, and my number one goal was to be in every community in Philadelphia.
We're losing you a little bit, Derek, just a little bit. Closer to your mic. Yeah, there we go.
All right, so many of you don't know a little about Philly. You have different neighborhoods, North Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, Germantown, Northeast, all those kind of sections of Philadelphia. So what we wanted to do is to be a part of every section or every community in Philadelphia. And obviously the schools is a great way to do that because they're already in those communities. And so that's what we've done. And by partnering with the school district of Philadelphia and by partnering with organizations that are already in the schools, that's allowed us to have a footprint in every community and every neighborhood in Philadelphia, not only during the school year, but also during the summer, because we do the exact same thing by partnering with the Parks and Recreation in Philadelphia.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else talk about the community you've created?
Yeah, am I on mute or can everybody
No, you're
hear?
good.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm going to just piggyback on previous comments. Our strongest partner, other than some local organizations, is the Neshaminy School District. And anybody out there that's listening to this webinar, that is the ideal situation because it is such a comforting factor for parents to know their children just have to walk down the hall instead of getting on a school bus or an alternate form of transportation and going to another location. We followed that model for 35 years, and in my view, it's ideal. And a comment about community. If you drive through the perimeter suburban communities, all the way from Lower Merion on one end to Bristol on the other, and I'll just highlight a few communities: Lower Merion, Upper Merion, Norristown, Methacton, Neshaminy, Council Rock, et cetera, et cetera. If you drive through those suburban communities, you will rarely see children out playing in those neighborhoods between 3 and 6 o'clock due to the status of our current economy. Dual income families. And then there's another factor about security, and the media feeds right into that. We could talk about that all day long. The after-school programs, not only do they provide students with a better academic standing, they also provide the children with the opportunity to have a community after school. They develop relationships and they develop social skills, and relationship building and social skills take practice. And the only way you get that is not out of a textbook, not in front of a screen. You get that from personal interaction. And over the 36 years I've been involved, I've seen that in action. And I would encourage everybody out there to make the case to your school district, if you're not already doing it, to provide your programs in the school. Use those facilities that are paid for by the taxpayers. They don't belong to the educators. They belong to the community as a whole.
That's right.
That's done.
Yep. Franny and Chris, the presence of the community partner in your school, how has that affected you as a PE teacher?
Franny, go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. I want to piggyback on Jim, because as an educator and being that physical educator and that gym, I am so happy when that gym is being used, and it's used for my classroom or our classroom as educators, but sometimes it's frustrating when things are off the wall and stuff like that when you come in the next morning. But I think it's so important to establish a relationship and a respect. And if you give respect to their programs, they're going to take a little more pride in leaving the facilities, ready for you. But our boosters, is a big tie-in for us to, obviously they're raising money to, support their program, but, it's a small amount and it giving the opportunity for our kids. But I think too, tapping into those former tennis players, and I'm sure everyone on this panel has former players coming back and giving back to their programs. And we currently have another safe provider in our program that just started, and she's working with eventually K-8, but her focus was actually K2, and picked up some 3, 4, 5 and was doing a Sunday program. And her package didn't come yet. And then, so
That's right.
Since I was done using my net, she got the bag and all, and was able to continue her program while waiting for her. So, the relationship is so important. And, sometimes we have to put down our, our own walls and realize that sharing and networking is the key.
Thanks, Franny. Chris?
I mean, I'm gonna piggyback off everybody else. I mean, our program would be nowhere without, you know, the Reading Rec Commission, without the support from the USTA. I mean, when you are a phys ed teacher and, you know, you want to implement tennis and you have this brand new shiny bag with 35 rackets. I mean, in, you know, Reading School District, we're inner city school, our class sizes are large, and I still have a racket for every one of my students. You know, that means something to them. So when, you know, we introduce tennis skills, you know, October-ish, to kind of pump up, gear up for our, you know, season, and they get to see the racket that they would have. They get to, you know, see some of the equipment that, you know, we use. You know, that for a kid, you know, that's very enticing. You know, we were lucky too as well. And my son in the background, he's in class, so sorry. Yeah, okay. he's virtually learning, so he's saying bye to his students, his classmates. But you know, as a school, as 13th and Green, one of the things that we also did was we got warm-ups for our kids. So we had, you know, our own logo. So every match day, you know, our kids would have on their tennis gear, and, you know, our principal, you know, it just, you know, you talk about partnerships. It's also important as a, you know, when you're in the school, as I am, to have a good partnership, have a good relationship with your administration, because we could do things like that. You know, they didn't have to wear their school uniforms on those days. They got to wear their tennis gear. So the first thing that the teacher saw was like, oh, well, I want one of those. So then the teachers would wear it. So then, you know, as a kid, when you're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade and you're about to play a match and your teacher has on your gear, you know, that means something to you. So, you know, I think, you know, the partnership piece is critically important, not just, you know, outside with, like, you know, the USTA, but also just in your building, making sure that you create that school community in your building as well.
That's awesome. It's really awesome. All right, so one more question for the audience. Do you need tennis courts to teach tennis? This is an easy one. In the chat, let me see. No, come on, no. I should have lots of no's. No, anywhere. Tennis can be taught anywhere. Awesome. Good job, audience. You're all paying attention. So, panel, give me your funniest or your best story of space issues trying to teach tennis. What do you got? Anybody? Derek, I know you probably have a few.
It's funny. I don't know if it's anything funny. It's kind of hard because I'm sure all of us have had to use everywhere. I mean, the hallways, we've used the hall. I mean, you can only use certain places. So again, if you're not trying to put up a portable net or a mini net, you can use any place, because as long as it has walls, or if it doesn't have walls, you just have space. So I think we all have the same. Anywhere we've done it, and I've done it in schools all over the place. And if it wasn't a classroom, I've had classrooms, I've had hallways, I've had gyms, I've had whatever you call multi-use rooms, cafeteria, everywhere. So I don't know if it's funny or not, but it's just just say, hey, let's do it. We're going to have it today, and then that's it. And so I don't know if it's funny, you know. So. Yep,
I've had people in the chat saying, on the stage, on the pickleball courts, in the driveway, on the block party. I myself taught tennis one time in a multi-purpose room that was the cafeteria, the gym. It had 2 ginormous poles running right down the middle. So I don't know how I did it. I had like 20 kids in this class, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, don't anybody run into a pole. So lots of different ideas. So tell me some things that you've learned along the way. What works and what doesn't? Give me something that you've learned along the way teaching tennis.
You know, one of the things that I've learned in the success of the program that we've had is just making it enjoyable for you know, the kids. You know, we've been lucky and have been successful the last couple seasons, but you know, you've done the right thing when, you know, you're at practice and a few of your old students and a few of your old players come back because they want to still be a part of it. So it's just about making it enjoyable for the kids. That's the biggest thing.
I'm gonna support that. the better you are at entertainment, the more dramatic you are, the more conscious you are of remembering children's names, because they're just like us. They desire attention. Even a senior like me has had incredible success because I live by personal relationships and entertainment. And I reflect on my university professors. The ones that I remember the most who were the ones that made difficult subjects enjoyable.
Right. That's nice.
Same applies to tennis.
Yep.
Yes.
Our slogan this year was fun equals success. And
That's great.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
great.
and if you make it fun, then your program is going to be successful, whether it's after school, before school, summer, or whatever. And that's what our slogan is: fun equals success. And so I agree with all. I agree with Chris, Jim. I know Franny's going to say the same thing. So I absolutely, so I agree. It makes our life easier too. It makes our life easier too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you don't have those qualities by this stage in the game, I don't know how old enough people are in the audience, but you can't fake it.
That's right.
Faking it to make it, that's only short-lived. You have to be consistent. You have to remember Johnny's name or Billy or Susie or Sonia from day to day and really take a profound interest in them and their ability to learn tennis. And patience and tolerance are an absolute must.
Franny?
I think everyone's on the same page with that. I don't think you're in this business, whether you're in the classroom or doing the, your community programs. You have to be animated. You've got to think on your feet, and if you're in that situation where you don't have all the supplies and equipment, that's where it's okay to, that K2 level, we were taking hangers and putting nylons over it just to have an implement to, get the rack, a racket in their hands. So, and that's okay because they're still working on the skills that are going to lead up to your tennis game. So, but yeah, the kids need to know that they're in a safe environment and a fun one, that they feel comfortable to not get the 10 hits that their neighbor's getting, or, and having those implements and equipment in everyone's hand, like, Chris, you were referring to, to have up to 35 kids in your class and to have everyone with a racket. I remember the days where I didn't, I had to, over my career, I built up my inventory, but I ran relays, we had 6 rackets and we ran, it was relay style, trying to get them going that way, or, and as we grew to 12 rackets and if I had 20, we were in partners and sharing, so it's a matter of working with what you have, using your, you've got resources right here on this panel, and to, and tap into your community. You have so many tennis players in your community that have so much to give. And, it's exciting to see, a former graduate and player she has her own elementary age children, and she's kickstarting it, and which is great.
That's awesome. So we do have a question in the chat. Can you talk about what parents can do if they have an interest in bringing tennis to their kids' school?
I'll go first. My advice would be to contact administration, and, maybe put a feeler out, because it doesn't just have to be the phys ed teacher. One of our teams is run by I think he's a 4th grade teacher. So it doesn't just have to be the phys ed teacher, obviously, because, our job description, we kind of, are the first ones to come to mind. But, talk to the administration and say you have an interest, because you're probably not the only one that has that interest to have, at least something for their, for their kids. So talk to them. And then if you do have a relationship with, your child's phys ed teacher, talk to them as well. Just, try to open those lines of communication. And I'm sure, if your child's teacher, would have an interest in bringing something to their school.
Well, we had, we had the center here. We have Legacy Center here. And so we had a parent whose one child was high performance in doing it, but she had another daughter who was very interested, elementary school, was very interested in tennis, but just wasn't at the same level. And she came in, she talked to me, and she really wanted to set an after school program up. And she came, we talked, we set it up, and she went back, met with the PTO, put it together, put the whole program together, and we picked the days, picked the times, everything. She made sure that she had at least 15 kids or 15 parents. And so she did everything she was supposed to do in order to get the program. And then she took that to the principal. And at that point, what was the principal going to say? No,
Right.
because it was the PTO. They had already done it. They did all the due diligence, had all the parents ready, had all the paperwork signed, was ready to go. Principal said, hey, let's do it. Talk to the PE teacher as well. So everything was in place. And so, I mean, obviously, that she went above and beyond. But wow, when you get parents to do that, it made my job so much easier. All I had to do was just find the two coaches. That's all I had to do. I mean, and there was a fee involved. And she sold the fee to the parents, told me, we discussed what she thought was, what was adequate or appropriate. And she went back and she got the 15 parents and kids in a heartbeat. And so when you get parents that are involved like that, obviously it's not always that simple, but she was really, and she was a tennis mom as well. So she had a lot of motivation behind it. And that's what parents can do. That's the power of parents, I believe.
Mhm.
At least in that situation it was.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, another question in the Q&A is, how would you convince a PE teacher to teach tennis in an after-school program for pay? And how would you convince a PE teacher to be in charge of a site? Franny or Chris? Does say for pay.
Franny, you can go first.
Well, I think that what held me up personally was I had a 45-minute commute. I actually live in the Governor Mifflin School District, Chris, so I'm close by. I'm right next to Maple Grove, so you would have an idea of that. But occasionally I would stay after school. It depends. I officiate, I coach hockey, I do a few other things, but I really spent time since I saw all 600 kids in my building promoting it, and also making sure I fed as much information to the K2 level. So I think finding that one contact at least in the school is so important, and building from there. And tapping into the coaches. Sometimes you have coaches that are within the system, not necessarily your physical education teachers. Sometimes they are outside, but knowing that gives them an opportunity, because it's never too young, they're never too young to start developing, your future tennis players, and for them to be able to develop basically their future team is huge. And again, and I've said this before, and so have the other panelists, find those former players that have those kids, they, and they're still playing, so it's just a matter of tapping into the right people.
Thanks. Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I would
thoughts?
agree. I think, for me personally, it was just, it was something that I wanted to do. If we have 13 elementary schools and we have, 5, 6 tennis teams. Well, 5 right now currently. Hopefully we can get to 6 this year. So we don't have everybody. Everyone has, things going on that, prevents them from doing it. Some people, aren't interested in doing it. I think it's just like what Franny said, it's about selling the fact that you are building, and as an educator in general, especially at the elementary level, you're about building for others. You're helping to, mold these children so that they're ready for middle school, and then their middle school teachers are preparing them for high school. So I think it's just selling them the fact that you're just trying to help them, matriculate down, through their educational career, and if their athletic career as well. So I would just kind of piggyback off Franny and just echo the same sentiments about just finding the right person.
And another question would be, well, I just lost it. Virtual. Your thoughts on virtual training, virtual. Anybody? Derek, you have experience with this. Jim, have you done virtual?
No, I'm going to introduce it as soon as we go. Our first month of school is all online, and we're not sure where we're going to go in October, but my best guess is more of the same. Then what I'll do is I'll enlist all my PE teachers, all 6 of them, and have them familiarize themselves with the YouTube instruction. And from there, my plans are just a bit shaky about how we're going to share that with potential students. I'm hopeful we're going to go to hybrid by November.
Okay.
Yeah, we did we did virtual even during the summer. So
Okay.
we, with some of our subcontracts, we did all virtual. Even though we had our summer program, we did virtual during the summer. We're doing some virtual now with our subcontracts now, and with some of our after-school programs. And we did everything, as I said earlier, I don't want to be redundant, and we did everything from just Class Dojo to some live YouTube things. Coaches did live workouts, whether it be just fitness workouts, whether it be drill sets, drills, workouts. We recorded them and then put them on, put them on our Class Dojo and Google Classroom. So we did a little bit of everything during the course of COVID and even during the summertime. So we're pretty prepared for it, and we've kind of got things in order for when the time comes when we need to do that. I don't know how good it is. But we do it. I don't know how good it is, but so.
As long as you're keeping the kids active, right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
So, Renee,
go ahead.
something worked really well last spring for those students that responded. I had a spotlight where I would introduce a skill. Now, it was tennis. I actually focused on some juggling skills, and they could either videotape and show me doing the skill, or they could spotlight a talent that they have and share it. So sometimes them trying out the skills and sending it back to you, and as a spotlight, that there is something to use too. A nice tool. Whether you're submitting it as an assignment virtually, if it's in classroom based, but it was amazing some of the students that you heard from and got responses from that typically in an open classroom situation, you don't even hear a peep out of them. So some of my students, which was one of the silver linings, that they just shined, and knowing that they had my full attention when they gave me an audio response or a video response, I think was key. So, spotlighting the kids that way, that they get to share and they know they have that one-on-one with you is huge too.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. We have a little less than 5 minutes, and I just want to share with the audience some of the USTA resources that are now coming out for PE teachers and after-school providers. So the first thing that is brand new is if you're using the Next Generation PE curriculum, we have a adjustment sheet to help you if you are in person with your students. You'll see some of the activities should be discontinued just because they are activities that you're either sharing a tennis ball or not with, or you are within 6 feet of each other. So we do have that available, and we will send it out in the follow-up email. Another sheet we have is PE at-home tennis guide. So those of you who are doing virtual tennis, this guide gives you some examples of replacement if they don't have a racket at home. There are actually 6 lessons, 2 lessons for each week for 3 weeks long. And it gives you where you can find the activity in the school curriculum. This sheet will also be sent to you in a follow-up email, and it'll also be listed on the Middle States Best Practice website. Evan, can you put that link in the chat? So you will have this link for schools. We'll have these 2 pieces of paper. It will also have the Go Noodle videos. If any of you are doing Go Noodle virtual, there are a couple tennis Go Noodle videos, Madison Keys, Sloane Stevens, the Bryan brothers, and then Blazer Fresh has done the ball is in your court and hit the ball, y'all. So those are some Go Noodle activities that you could do virtually with your students. And then there's always the Net Generation Tennis at Home activities, which can be found on our Best Practices website, but they're also on the Net Generation website at all. So in a follow-up email, we will send these links and those pages to you. I do also have information on how to register. The teachers on our call, you always go to your best first. So these teachers actually registered for Net Generation in 2017, when teachers had to do background checks and submit Pennsylvania documents. Today it is so much easier for teachers. Evan, can you bring up my slides?
Oh, yeah.
So for a teacher today to register on Net Generation, it is my PowerPoint. It's in my, here, I got it. I got it. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to minimize this. There we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
So to register for your class, you just go to USTA.com, you click log in and sign up. That's basically it. If you don't have an account, just create one with your email and a password. Then you select schools, click register under PE teacher, add your class, and you will receive the Net Generation curriculum. And as we discussed on today's call, the community partner is vital to helping you establish a great community in your school. And that's what is needed for the equipment package. Also here at Middle States, we do have grants, as some of the providers and teachers have talked about today. We have program grants for PE teachers, and we do have an after-school incentive for community partners, for school partners that run after-school or before-school programs. It's called the Rally Star Initiative. And if the PE teacher is teaching tennis in PE and you are Safe Play approved as their school partner, we have a stipend for you to help cut some of the costs. It is 2:01 and I don't want to keep our audience. I want to thank my panelists for their time. Thank you so much for being part of our conference. And that's all I have. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
All right.
Keep up the good work. Excellent job,
Thank you,
everyone.
Franny. Thank you, Franny. Thanks, Jim.